The other week 0 game that you and I have circled that we're going to talk about because we're only talking about two, SMU versus Nevada. All right, this line has moved
Yep.
all over the place. All right. It opened at 21 and a half. And I'm kicking myself a little bit. If you got it at SMU minus 21 and a half, congratulations to you because that is unbelievable value. The number's at 27 and a half in most places, 27 at some places. I guess for the show, we'll pick at 27 and a half. It's at 27 and a half in most places. So look, SMU is a pretty good it's a pretty decent football team, right? And especially like for now the ACC, so I got to look at them at like a P4 light, but because they're playing against a G5 team, SMU is one of the better G5 teams out there last year in particular. Offensively, they were fantastic. Defensively, let's be honest here, okay? They benefited a ton from their schedule last year. And when they did play against pretty good offenses, they struggled. They did
hmm
when they played Memphis. I believe I'm gonna say North Texas was a game, but I'm not sure if actually their defense played well in that game or not. But the Oklahoma game, I think
ECU.
TCU look they struggled at times defensively. Um, but they benefited from turnovers, and I think they benefited from beating up on pretty
It was
not good
Rice. You're thinking
teams.
about Rice.
I'm thinking about Rice, okay, because North
Yeah, Rice
Texas
put up 31.
did
North
they kind
Texas
of
had 20, put up 21, which is fine, but
yeah
SMU kind of controlled that football game.
yeah. So I not saying the SMU defense was bad last year. I just think some of those stats may have been inflated just a little bit, right? Just a little bit. Uh,
Temple, Tulsa, East Carolina.
yeah, you played some of the worst offenses in the American. And by the way, the bottom of the American last year was bad, as it is this year, right? The bottom of the American is not what it used to be. Okay, I mean it was pretty horrendous last year. Now I anticipate East Carolina looking a little bit better, but um, fortunately SMU doesn't have East Carolina on their schedule anymore. Fortunately, they got
Yeah.
Cal and Boston College, Duke and Stanford and Pitt to worry about, which, by the way, is the best possible draw that you could have gotten your first year in the ACC, right? But um, yeah. So when you're looking at this game, CD, how are you feeling about now? Obviously, the line is gigantic, okay, but what are Jeff Choate's chances, to show us that Nevada has improved year one under his reign there?
Listen, they talked about it too. They have a lot of work to do this year. I mean, I think they play 13 games and their overall win total is only 2.5. So it is obviously, a good opportunity for them to play a lot of football games, but it could be a tough turnaround. I do think they had a they did not have an idea struggled with putting together some talent and they had a lot of work to do. And the problem is too is they brought in a lot of guys in the spring that they like, or even in the summer. Looking at a guy like Savion Red, and it took them a little bit to get them going. And I think not only do they have to adjust to a year one, but that year one off season gets even shorter. He talked about that where he's a week earlier. They kind of lose a week, to prep for this game, and there's so much that goes into getting ready to play a football game. So it'll be interesting. Interesting. Brendan Lewis obviously gets named starter. That just came out a couple days ago, and Chuba Purdy's hurt. They said they got some guys around him that they feel good about, but Lewis is a guy we've seen a lot of him, right? That back to Nevada, we've seen him back at Colorado. He was not good at all whenever he's played. Listen, the talent is kind of there. He's kind of a fun runner too, but he talked about why he won the football job, why he won the starting quarterback spot was because of his leadership and his ability to not turn the football over. He didn't have a single interception all fall camp, which I don't know if that means not throwing football or whatever it might be. And it's the DB room the staff kind of likes too. So it's pretty impressive to see that. I hope he's turning a corner because it would be nice to see them, be able to put up competent stuff in the Mountain West. And you've got a couple different out of conference games like a Georgia Southern, right? Like a Troy, Eastern Washington, games that you could potentially win. And it's not going to be a line of 27. And it's fun though that it's at home. And I think I hope there's a good atmosphere there in Reno. I hope that Jeff Choate is starting to build some excitement there because he should. And he's doing a good job there building that culture, building that program. It's going to take a while, but He's got a lot to do at the running back position. This is where they're the best, I think. You've got a ton of Power Five transfers coming in. You've got depth. Yes, Patrick Garwell is kind of battling injuries, but Sean Dollars is still there from last year, who struggled a little bit last year, right? But he's getting better. Ashton Haynes, he's a guy that they like. And then how quickly can Savion Red get ready to play? He was a guy that came over from Texas, to follow Jeff Choate as well over the summer. And he's a good football player. We've seen him make some plays in the Big 12 in years past. And he could be a guy, revelation, that could be in that offense to help a guy like Brendan Lewis. And then you also got Jaden Smith, man. Guy, former Montana State guy. Back when Jeff Choate was there, he went over, I can't remember where. After that was at Tarleton State. Excuse me. He's a guy 6'6". Holy cow. He could be one of their best weapons and a guy that they could find matchups for because he does have a legit Power 5 body. Same goes for Cortez Barham, right? But we'll see. I mean, I do think that O-line could have their hands full with Elijah Roberts and everyone else there on the Miami defensive line. And it'll be interesting, though. Listen, they got a lot of work to do. That line is moving up for a reason, but it'll be interesting. It'll be a nice litmus test just to kind of throw them in the fire. I'm not expecting them to compete and to win this football game, but the reality is, too, you could see some signs of, fight, playing hard, disciplined, different flashes here and there that makes you feel good about the Jeff Choate era and maybe Nevada season the rest of the way out.
Well, even when you look at Jeff Choate's era at Montana State being the head coach there, like they didn't throw the ball all that effectively. Like, yeah, there were games obviously that stood out to you, but they definitely benefited, right? And he's a defensive minded guy. They benefited from running the ball really well and playing good defense. Okay, which is what I think he's going to try to do here. I don't know that they have the pieces to necessarily play good defense on this team, but like you said,
Yeah.
the talent is there absolutely in the running back room. On the offensive line, I mean, you get some of these guys back, but you lose two guards that had significant playing time. They were both pretty bad, not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say that those guys were significant losses there. But in the wide receiver room, it's pretty much brand new. So I don't anticipate them necessarily throwing the ball very effectively, if at all, right? Which, could play well against some teams in the Mountain West, but I think look, some of those teams in the Mountain West have pretty scary offenses that can move the ball and sling the pill around a little bit. If you fall behind, I don't think that this team is built to play from behind at all. So when I'm looking at this line at 27.5, I'm look, I think SMU is significantly better than Nevada. I don't think Nevada is very good at all, right?
Yeah.
And you know what, Jeff Choate, I'll bring this up. Look, there's a chance for this Nevada program to be good. Geographically, you're in a good position. Okay. I know the funds are not there in the athletic department right now, but that sometimes can change pretty quickly. Okay. If you get some sort of NIL fund in there, there's no state income tax in Nevada, but there's a huge one in California. I I guarantee you that there are some kids that would be interested in playing football for NIL, and I know that NIL is not there, but maybe in this new era when you're paying players as
You're paying
employees,
players and there's no stadium contact. Yep. Yep.
there's no state
Exactly.
income tax, and there is a salary cap and a floor that you have to pay these players. They might interest a couple players that otherwise might play at San Jose State, San Diego State, to play in Nevada, and I know it's just a small factor, and that's not, but it's something, right? Something that you could pitch to, I guess, positively recruit or negatively recruit against some of those other teams in the Mountain West that are pretty good geographically in that area as well, being in the state of California and having that talent to pick from as well. So I think that Jeff Choate is in a position where he can still be good and have an effective program here in Nevada, because we've seen coaches do it before. We've seen coaches win. Not that Nevada's been a significantly incredible program the last 35, 40 years, but there is opportunity to win at Nevada. And I think Jeff Choate can do it. I think he's a fantastic coach. I thought it was a great hire. I think you and I both were pretty high on the hire as well. Yeah, but give me, with all that being said, though, give me SMU minus 27.5. This is probably a 4 touchdown game. Not bettable for me, but yeah, I'm gonna pick SMU to win and cover for sure.
I'll do the same too. But here's what I want to see from SMU. First of all, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Keaton Crawford. That's a player. It's an actual player. Very, very good player coming over from Texas, fifth-year guy, former four-star, been with Jeff Choate, comes back to Nevada, is going to play safety for them there. And in that DB room, that's pretty inexperienced right at Nevada, but I do think there's some pieces that they do like. Here's what I'll say too for SMU. Yes, you got to win the football game, but here's what I want to see from them as they're moving into the ACC. I want to see them be able to establish their will running the football game, right? Establish their will running the football game with those running backs. You got 4 former Power 5 guys there. Jalen Knighton and Smith are, the Miami guys. And LJ Johnson was a high recruit. Kamar Wheaton was a super high recruit. These are talented football players. And I want to see that offensive line who loses, right? 3 or 4 guys, right? Marcus Bryant, Bryson Hickman, just to name a few. I want to see those guys and how they gel. I want to see them be able to dominate this competition and see where it goes from that. Yes, you're going to win the football game probably, but it's not just that. You want to see certain steps. You want to see certain things to do that. And the best part about this week 0 game is you have 3 bye weeks to get things right, right? So you have opportunities throughout the season. Well, 1, stay healthy in this game, but 2, start to build for the future when you're playing games like TCU, right? Like Stanford, right? California, right? These are games that are going to be, toss-up games potentially, but you can absolutely win those football games. It's going to be about developing, not only the start levels, but maybe that depth too, in terms of if you do start to get out to a lead. It'll be interesting to see. I do think the matchup between Choate and listen, he doesn't have quite the defenders that he wants probably in year 1 to be able to match up with this scheme that Brett Lashley likes to run. I mean, they thrive on explosive plays, right? But they are also a balanced offense. They run some gap run. They kind of go fast when they're playing well. I was listening to Choate, and he compared him to Gus Malzahn, right? And that, to me, first of all, it's a great compliment because Malzahn is a heck of a coach, especially offensively. But that kind of gives you the challenges, an idea of the challenges that these offenses can bring you. And we'll see what happens there when those 2 guys are matching up to each other. It'll be a fun little chess match to see what Choate can do. And he talked about having to be very multiple. He talked about wanting to be multiple and also being able to not get caught in certain coverages and certain defenses, especially when they're going fast. That's when you can give a quick, explosive, 5-play touchdown drives because you're kind of in the same defense because the offense is going so fast. The problem is in week 0 with a new football team, new staff, and new, scheme coming in for this Nevada team is you have potential for miscommunication because you got guys learning this stuff. And it's also week 0 too. It's 1 less week to digest and learn all that information for these college students. So it'll be interesting to see. Again, this will probably be the largest line that we cover all year, but it's week 1 or week 0. So it's not like there's a ton to pick from. And I'll be watching. It's a great opportunity too for Nevada to host a game where I think a lot of people will be watching. And I hope they can show it. I hope that there's a good atmosphere there and start building for the future for Jeff Choate to even have a chance to win some football games at Nevada.